Good morning. The old man here. 1/13/2025. Couple things I'd like to talk about this morning. Both things brought up through comments from yesterday's video. First one, inspired by BC Stargazer. His question was, what do I think, or what ratio of, or how should Bitcoin and crypto play into your portfolio? Well, for me, I worked with Bitcoin for a while. I wish I knew more about it. If I did, I did okay, but if I knew more about it, I'd done a lot better than I did. I got into Bitcoin just before the last halving. To be honest, I got into it at about $48,000. That's where Bitcoin was at the time. Rode it all the way up to the top at 72. Wasn't smart enough to get out, and rode it all the way back down to 20,000. And even with that being said, if I would have increased my position at 20,000, I could have rode it right back up to 90, 100,000. Again, to be honest, I got out at 90,000. I cashed out my position, all but $1,000, and I converted that from Bitcoin to XRP. My thing about Bitcoin is everybody, all the Bitcoin people have been waiting for adoption of the mainstream, and they're finally getting it. However, the only way to get it is to through ETFs. Most of these institutions cannot buy Bitcoin direct. You have to buy it. They have to buy an ETF. You and I can buy it direct. We can't, but in the big institutions and the big money, of which is at the moment driving this market up, is how the big boys are going to get into it. The banks and pension funds and whatever else. The only way they can get into it is through an ETF. In other words, indirectly but not directly. My problem with that is the ETFs is what has been able to manipulate gold and silver and all the other commodities for years. Again, that's why, the big banks want in on it so they can manipulate it. They can short it when they want to short it, long it when they want to long it, and they'll make the difference. It just, to me, it doesn't work anymore. That's me, that's personal, whatever. So that's the way I see it. I would rather seen adoption keep going slowly and not have the big banks get into it. But it is what it is. My other part of crypto, like I said, I kept about $1,000 in the game, of which is a very, very small position compared to my overall portfolio. Again, I figure I got to have some skin in the game in order to watch it, follow it, and maybe I'll increase that position at some point. What I'm looking at right now is XRP. Again, Economic Ninja kind of turned me on to it. I've seen quite a bit about it. What does worry me in some respects is that it's what everybody's talking about, and generally that's not good. However, in this particular case, my understanding, and maybe I don't understand it as well as I should, part of the reason why I got such a small position is that so far my understanding is that this is the rails, if you will, that the big banks are going to use in the future to move money. or to move wealth, if you will, or currencies, whatever. It's the rails it's going to move on. And in order to basically everything that the, let's say the central bank owns will have to be digitalized or tokenized, however you want to say that. And they'll move the tokens on the XRP rail. We'll see. Again, it's been in the works a long time, and I'm seeing where, or at least through the talking heads, that that's where it's going. And we'll see. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it at the moment. It may or may be. Boy, Ruger's a little talkative today. He wanted to spend a little more time with me before I went to work, and he knows when I'm getting ready to sit down, it ain't gonna be much longer before I take off to work. However, we need to go out and feed the chickens and the ducks yet, and I think that's what he's kind of looking forward to. But at any rate, back to XRP and crypto. That's where I stand at the moment. I don't see myself at this time, unless something changes severely. I don't see myself getting back into Bitcoin, although I may increase my position in XRP. We'll see as I learn more about it. We'll see how it goes. The other thing is was brought up by, I think his handle is Arizonian One, talking about copper. And I've mentioned in my last video how cheap in respect to what it costs to mine compared to what you're paying on the spot price for gold and silver, how reasonable that is compared to what it's cost to get it out of the ground. He brought up the fact of how cheap copper is compared to what it takes to get it out of the ground, and I agree entirely. I think copper is way too cheap, and I'd like to take a position in copper, but I don't think it's the right time. If you were a scrapper and you were stockpiling copper, that's exactly what I'd do. I'd stockpile it, maybe melt it down into bars and just stack it. Right now, that's what I'd be doing if I was scrapping like electric motors and shit right now. I wouldn't be selling it. I'd be stockpiling that son of a bitch. But for us average stackers that aren't scrapping at the time, who knows, might have to do that at some point. But if you're not scrapping, there's only a couple ways to get in and maybe take advantage of the fact that copper is so reasonable at this time. One would be to get it on the futures market. To me, that doesn't make sense at this time. The whole stock market is in a bubble, and that bubble's not looking good at this time. So at this time, stocks aren't for me. Another way to get into it would be through mining stocks. And man, let me tell you, I'm looking at that very seriously. Mining stocks on gold and silver and copper. I think right now is the time to do your research, find out what the best companies are. So many of these juniors, especially the juniors, are basically they're just bleeding money. They're just a good way to get rid of wealth. They're not a good investment, and it's really hard to cipher the good, the bad, and the ugly, unless you're right on the inside and you got a personal relationship with some of these folks. I think you're going to have a hard time sorting out what's good and bad. However, basically, I think some of these companies are zombie companies. Some are falling by the wayside as we speak, and in the future, when stocks and again, I think stocks are going to tank. When stocks tank, that'll sort out the wheat from the chaff. We'll see how it rolls. Right now, I've got quite a few different companies on my radar, gold, silver, and copper companies, and in some cases, it's all in the same, you know. But working on sorting that out. I think at some point in the future, whether that's 6 months, a year from now, whatever, it'll be a good time to increase my, well, I have no position in stocks at all or mining companies at all right now. Again, I don't think it's a good time, but I will, I will, at least as far as I can tell right now, I'm preparing to get into the mining stocks as soon as the dust settles. And that might be a ways down the road. Hell, who knows? It might be a year or two down the road before the dust settles. Hard to say. We'll see how it rolls. But at any rate, I thought that's the way, we talk about that a little bit today. It's going to be kind of a shorter video. But that's where I stand at the moment. That's what I think about stocks and mining stocks, copper, silver, gold. Silver and gold at the moment, I think the only way to go is physical, no stocks, no paper at all. So, and same goes for copper. Physical at the time doesn't make sense for me, and again, paper and stocks don't make sense at this time. So we're not. I'm steering clear of that at the moment. Like I said, though, I am doing all the research I can and figuring out what some of the best companies are. I know mining stocks have been going up some, but they're not doing what everybody suspects they should have been doing by now. And again, like I said in the last video, I think most of the reason for that is the costs have gone up so much through inflation that that at the moment they're just not making a lot of money. Therefore, their stocks aren't taking off. If their stocks were looking better, or their business models were looking better, I think a lot more people would be moving into them, and the market or the stocks would start moving up more than they are, and their dividends would start paying more as well. So again, I think it's early. I know some of these stocks are super cheap. In fact, they're historically cheap. But you got to think about this. If a stock is, its all-time high was $8, and right now it's down to 72 cents, and that's a hell of a bargain. Jesus Christ, I'm a fool not to get in. Well, keep in mind that 72 can go to 35. And think of what, if you're keeping some dry powder or some cash on the side, think what position you can buy, double the position when that stock goes to 35. And if it's a good company and it goes from 75 to 35 and it even drops lower, good, buy more. If you believe in that company, get her done. Stock up while the getting's good. And again, like I mentioned yesterday, I don't think bonds is the place to be either. Actual physical cash for the moment, I know it's losing value. Either that or buy gold and silver, purchase, trade into gold and silver. And when the time comes, because who knows, that time might not be for a couple of years. So having cash on the side for a couple of years doesn't make sense either. Maybe you convert your cash that you don't need for everyday bills, convert that to gold and silver, and then when it's time to buy the stocks, convert it back into cash, and then over to your stocks. We'll see how it rolls. All right, guys, thanks for checking in. If you would, like and subscribe, and please leave a comment. I've got another video, plans for another video coming out tonight. I believe it's a really good video on and gold, and why gold's really the best thing to buy right now, where silver's a hell of a deal, but it's still speculative to some degree. So that's coming out tonight, I believe, unless I get super busy and can't do it. But I do plan on bringing it out tonight. I'm looking forward to sitting down and talking about this one, especially. I've had an epiphany, if you will. All right. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Please leave a comment. Have a good day.